Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnamhamsa Pariprajaka Ashtotar Sadashri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kofi Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kunikiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Welcome to all. We're reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 5, text 22, and we're in the midst of the purport. Today is January 27th, Friday, 2023 in Vrindavan, and one day earlier in New York. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chintamani Prakara Sadamasu Kalpavriksha Laksha Vite Shushudabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Samrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Samahang Bhajami. Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Vande Hang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Lapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vansha Kolpitarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. In this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has begun glorifying Lord Nityananda Prabhu, whom he identifies as being identical with Lord Balaram. In this regard, Kaviraj Goswami has explained that everything is resting on the energy of Lord Balaram. The entire material and spiritual creation is expanded from the energy of Lord Balaram. In this regard, he gives some spiritual geography, explaining the Vaikuntha Lokas and bringing us up to Krishna Loka. And in describing Krishna Loka, he's quoted this verse, Chintamani Prakara Sadamasu, from the Brahma Samhita. We began reading the purport. It's a long and wonderful purport, and so we'll continue where we left off. In the material world, everything is a creation. Anything we can think of within our experience, including even our own bodies and minds, was created. This process of creation began with the life of Brahma, and the creative principle is prevalent all over the material universe because of the quality of passion. But since the quality of passion is conspicuous by its absence in the Vaikuntha planets, nothing there is created. Everything there is eternally existent. And because there's no mode of ignorance, there's also no question of annihilation or destruction. So things get created by the force of passion and destroyed by the force of ignorance. In the material world, one may try to make everything permanent by developing the above-mentioned qualities of goodness. But because the goodness in the material world is mixed with passion and ignorance, nothing here can exist permanently, despite all the good plans of the best scientific brains. Therefore, in the material world, we have no experience of eternity, bliss, and fullness of knowledge. But in the spiritual world, because of the complete absence of the qualitative modes, everything is eternal, blissful, and cognizant. Everything can speak. Everything can move. Everything can hear. And everything can see in fully blessed existence for eternity. The situation being so, naturally, space and time in the forms of past, present, and future have no influence there. In the spiritual sky, there's no change because time has no influence. Consequently, the influence of Maya, the total external energy, which induces us to become more and more materialistic and forget our relationship with God, is also absent there. But this is the nature of the spiritual world. Nimeshardhakyo vavrajati nahi yatrapi samaya. Not even half a moment of time passes in the spiritual world. Everything is eternally existent and unaffected by the modes of material nature. As spiritual sparks of the beams emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord, we are all permanently related with Him and equal to Him in quality. The material energy is a covering of the spiritual spark. But in the absence of that material covering, the living beings in Vaikuntha Loka are never forgetful of their identities. They are eternally cognizant of their relationship with God, a position of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. because they constantly engage in the transcendental service of the Lord, it is natural to conclude that their senses are also transcendental. For one cannot serve the Lord with material senses. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha do not possess material senses with which to lord it over material nature. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge conclude that a place void of material qualities must be some sort of formless nothingness. In reality, however, there are qualities in the spiritual world, but they are different from the material qualities because everything there is eternal, unlimited, and pure. The atmosphere there is self-illuminating, and thus there's no need of a sun, a moon, fire, electricity, and so on. One who can reach that abode does not come back to the material world with a material body. Na tad pasyate suryo, na shashanko na pavaka, yadgatva na nivartante, tad tama paramam. There's no difference between atheists and the faithful in the Vaikuntha planets, because all who settle there are free from the material quality. Thus, suras and asuras become equally obedient, loving servitors of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada's referencing here a verse from 2nd Canto. So, warm up a little bit. The residents of Vaikuntha have brilliantly black complexions, much more fascinating and attractive than the dull white and black complexions found in the material world. Well, there's a comment for you on the blackness and the whiteness of the material world, both dull compared to what's found in the spiritual world. Their bodies, being spiritual, have no equals in the material world. The beauty of a bright cloud, when lightning flashes on it, merely hints at their beauty. Generally, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha dress in yellow clothing. Their bodies are delicate and attractively built, and their eyes are like the petals of lotus flowers. Like Lord Vishnu, the residents of Vaikuntha have 4 hands decorated with a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Their chests are beautifully broad and fully decorated with necklaces of a brilliant diamond-like metal, surrounded by costly jewels, never to be found in the material world. The residents of Vaikuntha are always powerful and effulgent. Some of them have complexions like red coral, cat's eyes, and lotus flowers, and each of them has earrings of costly jewels. On their heads, they wear flowery crowns resembling garlands. In the Vaikuntha, in the Vaikunthas, there are airplanes but they make no tumultuous sounds. Material airplanes are not at all safe. They can fall down and crash at any time, for matter is imperfect in every respect. Spiritual sky, however, the airplanes are also spiritual, and they are spiritually brilliant and bright. These airplanes do not fly business executives, politicians, or planning commissions as passengers, nor do they carry cargo or postal bags, for these are all unknown there. These planes are for pleasure trips only, and the residents of Vaikuntha fly in them with their heavenly, beautiful, fairy-like consorts. Therefore, these airplanes, full of residents of Vaikuntha, both male and female, increase the beauty of the spiritual sky. We cannot imagine how beautiful they are, but their beauty may be compared to the clouds in the sky, accompanied by silver branches of electric lightning. The spiritual sky of Vaikuntha Loka is always decorated in this way. The full opulence of the internal potency of Godhead is always resplendent in Vaikuntha Loka, where goddesses of fortune are ever increasingly attached to serving the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. These goddesses of fortune, accompanied by their friends, always create a festive atmosphere of transcendental mirth. Always singing the glories of the Lord, they're not silent even for a moment. There are unlimited Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and the ratio of these planets to the material planets in the material sky is 3-to-1. Thus, the poor materialist is busy making political adjustments on a planet that is most insignificant in God's creation. To say nothing of this planet Earth, the whole universe, with innumerable planets throughout the galaxies, is comparable to a single mustard seed in a bag full of mustard seeds. But the poor materialist makes plans to live comfortably here and thus wastes his valuable human energy in something that is doomed to frustration. Instead of wasting his time with business speculations, he should seek the life of plain living and high spiritual thinking, and thus save himself from perpetual materialistic unrest. This is the picture of the materialistic person, focused on becoming happy in a brief life on an insignificant planet with no actual prospects for achieving the happiness he seeks. So one should turn toward the personality of Godhead and go back home, back to Godhead. Even if a materialist wants to enjoy developed material facilities, he can transfer himself to planets where he can experience material pleasures much more advanced than those available on Earth. The best plan is to prepare oneself to return to the spiritual sky after leaving the body. However, if one is intent on enjoying material facilities, one can transfer himself to other planets in the material sky by utilizing yogic powers. The playful spaceships of the astronauts are but childish entertainments and are of no use for this purpose. The Ashtanga Yoga system is a materialistic art of controlling air by transferring it from the stomach to the navel, from the navel to the heart, from the heart to the collarbone, from there to the eyeballs, from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planet. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of the mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of the mind because in a moment we can transfer our minds to places hundreds of thousands of miles away. Intelligence is even finer. Finer than intelligence is the soul, which is not matter like mind and intelligence, but a spirit or antimatter. The soul is hundreds of thousands of times finer and more powerful than intelligence. We can thus only imagine the velocity of the soul and its traveling from one planet to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. The bestial civilization of eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense gratifying has misled modern man into forgetting how powerful a soul he has. As we have already described, the soul is a spiritual spark many, many times more illuminating, dazzling, and powerful than the sun, moon, or electricity. Human life is spoiled when a man does not realize his real identity with his soul. Lord Chaitanya appeared with Lord Nityananda to save man from this type of misleading civilization. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's purpose, Gaur Nitai, appear to save us from a misdirected so-called civilization. Saraswati says, I'm confused why there is no difference between atheists and devotees in Vaikuntha. I thought they're complete opposites, and atheists cannot even enter Vaikuntha at all. Also, previously in Bhagavatam, Canto 2, we read, a black body signified impiety, and fair-colored body is superior in material world. But in the Vaikuntha, the residents have black bodies. Taking the last question first, as Prabhupada points out, the complexions in the spiritual world have nothing to do with the complexions of the material world. In the material world, everything is relative, everything is better or worse. But on the spiritual platform, the colors, the sounds, the tastes, the forms, the everything is different. Prabhupada points out that the materialists, the impersonalists think that the alternative to material qualities is some sort of formless nothingness. But there are spiritual qualities. And those are the qualities found in Vaikuntha Loka. So the complexion is black, but it's not the black of this material world. It's compared to It's said to be something like the color of a dark cloud with flashes of lightning. So that complexion is not materially black and is not materially white. And the complexion of the soul is that's the ultimate complexion of the soul. The soul is where all spiritual souls, and falsely identifying ourselves with material black complexions or white complexions or some other kind of complexion that has nothing to do with us. And we form movements around these things. We form identities around these things. But it has nothing to do with us. It's just a few moments of illusion on a small, insignificant planet in a universe that's like one mustard seed in a bag of mustard seeds. Now, regarding can you find that verse in the second canto, the theists and atheists equally worship? Regarding the atheists and the devotees being together in Vaikuntha, this is a verse from, or Prabhupada's referencing a verse from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, for which he gives a equivalent translation along the same lines. And both the theists and the atheists, or the demons and the devotees, live there, equally engaged in the service of the Lord. This is puzzling. One could puzzle it out by saying that once they go to the spiritual world, then they're no longer theists and atheists. They're all equally servants of the Lord. Another way to reconcile the issue is to use a different translation. In the Jayādvaita, Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu has translated this verse to say that the Vaikuntha is equally adored. I think that's the general drift of it, equally adored by the atheists and the theists, or it's worshipable by both the atheists and the theists. So that's another approach to reading the verse, which avoids the problem of having atheists living in Vaikuntha. Is that okay? All right. And then Vijay Krishna asks, why is the mode of passion condemned in general in relation to the process for us to adopt for making spiritual advancement? The mode of goodness is much better. When Lord Brahma, the engineer of our universe, and one of the most advanced Vaishnavas ever, is so intimately connected with the mode of passion. Even Brahma is worried about the mode of passion because he has to engage in all these passionate activities or be associated with the mode of passion in the work of creation. Let's see if you can find it in Caritamrita too. The mode of passion involves confusion and suffering. It also involves creation, it involves establishing things. But rajasastu palam dukkam, the result of passion is suffering. So that's the material world. Because it has passion and ignorance, it's a place of suffering. All right, I don't think, but Lord Brahma therefore prays to the Lord. We read it earlier, that in the work of creation, he can be unaffected by the passion and ignorance that he has to deal with. All right, I think I've said enough. How can Vaikuntha, Tulsi Priya asked, be worshipable by atheists who presumably believe it doesn't even exist? Did you find that? I'm pretty probably telling you. Maybe I'll even call it up on my computer where I can. Let's see how this is glossed. Verse is Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.10. Which is quoted 3 times in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So let's see which time I'm looking for.
You said 2.9.10, Maharaj?
Yes. And let's see what we get. Okay, we've got the second place for Okay. The translation given by Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu says, very much satisfied with let's read the verse, Pravartate yatra vrajastamastayo sattvam tramishram nachakala vikram nayatra maya kimutapare harer anuvrata yatra sura surarchita. Very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, the personality of Godhead was pleased to manifest his personal abode by Vaikuntha. That transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all miseries and fear of illusory existence. In the spiritual world, there's neither the mode of passion, nor the mode of ignorance, nor a mixture of both. nor is there adulterated goodness, nor the influence of time or Maya itself. Only the pure devotees of the Lord, who are worshipped both by demigods and by demons, reside in the spiritual world as the Lord's associates. So that's verses, translations to 9 and 10. So, Anuvrata yatra sura surarchita, worshipped by both the suras and the asuras. What comes to mind is dhira dhira janapriyo, priyakaro, nirmatsuro pujito. Because the pure devotees of the Lord are not envious of anyone. They're worshipable for all. And dhira dhira jana priyo, dhira and adhira jana, both the sober and the uncultured or the ruffians appreciate a pure devotee. Even we see that the hunter, Megari, saw Narad Muni and was impressed that this person seems very nice, very effulgent, very, very beautiful. He's seems like a very nice person. Or Srila Prabhupada sometimes said that a Vaishnav will be appreciated as a perfect gentleman. So a person, even the demonic people, may appreciate these devotees are very nice. These Hare Krishna people are very nice. They, perhaps if they knew what our principles are, what our philosophy is, they would be opposed. Not perhaps, they would be. But still, they can appreciate these Hare Krishna people are very nice. So so that's what comes to mind. Does anyone want to contribute something more?
Maharaj, I was just thinking that even if somebody claims to be an atheist, whatever they find desirable is to be found in Vaikuntha. You know, people like wealth, they like opulence, they like cleanliness, they like, beautiful things. They appreciate power. So it's like even the atheist appreciates everything that is of God without the personality of Godhead.
Yes, they'll appreciate in that way. Yes. Anantashesh says, don't we need to be in the mode of passion even to get up in the morning? No. If one is on the transcendental plane, one will be more eager to get up in the morning, or not even to go to sleep. What is that? Nidrahara vihara kadi vijito. The Goswamis forgot about eating and sleeping, practically speaking. But in any case, those of us who do sleep, if we come to the mode of goodness, that sleep means ignorance. So those who are in the mode of goodness, those who are in the mode of ignorance want to sleep on and on. The drug addicts, the drunkards, those who are in deep depression would rather sleep because sleep is better than waking up. Life when you're awake is more painful, more miserable. So sleep provides some relief. Sleep is better. So those in the mode of ignorance would rather sleep and sleep. They don't want to get up. There's nothing for them. when they get up. They're in ignorance while they're asleep, and they're in ignorance while they're awake. At least while they're asleep, they're not bumping into anything. So, but those who are in the mode of goodness prefer to be awake. Yadasha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati sam. They take pleasure in being awake, being in knowledge. And what is that? In the mode of goodness, knowledge and happiness develop. Knowledge and happiness develop. So the person in the mode of goodness likes to get up. The typical person in the mode of goodness wants to get up early in the morning and commune with nature, or read something, or in some way make use of write something of his waking time. And those who are on the transcendental platform are eager to get up and serve Krishna. Prabhupada said, so long you sleep, you waste your time. So the pure devotee doesn't want to waste time. He doesn't want to be in ignorance any longer than required. He wants to be awake. Yes, Vijay Krishna. Is the same follow-up?
Maharaj, can you hear me?
Yeah, is this a follow-up on the same question?
Yes. Are you saying that the morning program, for example, offered to us by Srila Prabhupada, as the acharya that he was and he is not based on the creative principle, and also not based on the speculation related to the ascending process, for us to invent our own process of spiritual advancement. So it's based on obedience and totally the mode of goodness or pure goodness.
No, I wasn't saying all of that. I was just saying that I was just answering your earlier question, that the activities of Krishna consciousness have nothing to do with the mode of ignorance. Okay.
But if we do not need to be in the mood of passion for us to wake up early, and we wake up early for us to go to the morning program, so
it's understood that whatever a devotee wakes up for is understood to be on the transcendental platform. Whether it's like
the
Prabhupada.
program is completely transcendental?
Is that what a devotee gets up for in the morning?
Yes.
Then it's transcendental.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Okay, and Tulsi Priya's quoted the verse. And Sarashita says, sorry, the question is not directly related, but we understand that certain generations of a pure devotee will all become eligible for entry into the... Okay, I'm going to take Tulsi Priya's question first because it's related. I read some disciples' memory of Srila Prabhupada who, when he was about to take rest, said, now I am going to waste time. Yes, so the devotee doesn't like to waste time, he likes to be awake. And Murari Gupta says, the demons worship Lord Brahma and Shiva, both pure devotees. Even though demons, they had the utmost respect for these elevated personalities. Good point. Surachita, the pure devotees are worshipped both by the demigods and by the demons. Even the demons are worshipping Brahma, worshipping Shiva. Very, very good point. Thank you so much. Now coming back to Saraswati's question, not directly related. Okay. We understand that certain generations will become eligible for entry into the spiritual world, regardless of their individual spiritual qualifications. So could these atheists be the ones entering Vaikuntha too, despite not achieving perfection in bhakti? Generally, what we hear is that so many generations become liberated. Whether that means that they go to the Vaikuntha planets is another matter. Liberated means freed from past sinful reactions. Yesham tvantakatam papam. So then they become eligible for pure devotional service, one could say. Or they become eligible for attaining the Brahmajyoti, if that were their interest. But it's understood that anyone who goes to Vaikuntha must be engaged in pure devotional service to the Lord. There's no scope for not achieving perfection in bhakti and going back to Godhead. If one goes, then somehow one has achieved perfection, whether it's awarded causelessly or earned by, of course, it's always awarded, not just earned. But however one goes to Vaikuntha, by whatever route, whatever path, one is admitted when one is engaged in pure devotional service. There's no colony for the half devoted or 3/4 devoted. Everyone is fully engaged in Krishna's service. Okay. Anything else? Okay, let's continue to read a little more. Srimad Bhagavatam also describes how yogis can travel to all the planets in the universe. When the vital force is lifted to the cerebellum, there's every chance that this force will burst out from the eyes, nose, ears, etc., as these are places that are known as the seventh orbit of the vital force. But the yogis can block these holes by complete suspension of air. The yogi then concentrates the vital force in the middle position, that is, between the eyebrows. At this position, the yogi can think of the planet to which he wants to go after leaving the body. He can then decide whether he wants to go to the abode of Krishna in the transcendental Vaikunthas, from which he will not be required to descend into the material world, or to travel to higher planets in the material universe. The perfect yogi is at liberty to do either. For the perfect yogi who has attained success in the method of leaving his body in perfect consciousness, transferring from one planet to another is as easy as an ordinary man's walking to the grocery store. As already discussed, the material body is just a covering of the spiritual soul. Mind and intelligence are the undercoverings, and the gross body of earth, water, air, and so on is the overcoating of the soul. As such, any advanced soul who has realized himself by the yogic process, who knows the relationship between matter and spirit, can leave the gross dress of the soul in perfect order and as he desires. By the grace of God, we have complete freedom. Because the Lord is kind to us, we can live anywhere, either in the spiritual sky or in the material sky, upon whichever planet we desire. However, misuse of this freedom causes one to fall down into the material world and suffer the threefold miseries of conditioned life. The living of a miserable life in the material world by dint of the soul's choice is nicely illustrated by Milton in Paradise Lost. Similarly, by choice, the soul can regain paradise and return home back to Godhead. So we'll stop here. This is, by the way, a Sant Prabhupada's writing. In the first canto and second canto, we get Srila Prabhupada's writing. And here also, in the Adi Lila, up to chapter 7, beginning of chapter 7, Srila Prabhupada's writing rather than dictating. And there's a special flavor to Srila Prabhupada's writing. Here also, Prabhupada's borrowing from his other writings. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would indicate in a manuscript, insert here such and such article. So you may have recognized portions from Easy Journey to Other Planets. And I don't know whether other articles have also been borrowed from. But in any case, this was part of Srila Prabhupada's writing process. All right, so we'll stop here. And this was written, by the way, all of it before Srila Prabhupada's coming to America. Everything through chapter 6 of Adivila. And we have a kirtan volunteer.
Yes, we have.
Okay. And
May I, Maharaj?
Of course.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramhansa Paripurajaka Ashtotarasatashi Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kun Radha Kunikidi Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navdeep Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all very much for taking part in tonight's program, or morning's program for me. And thank you especially to Meena and Haridas. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Tulsi Priya. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
There you go. There you go.